Okay, so can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can, Alex. Go ahead.
Okay, so my name is Alex Asemzi. I am a clinical research study assistant at UHN, Toronto, Ontario. So basically, I work specifically at the Toronto General Hospital site or Princess Margaret Cancer Center site in the head and neck surgery department. So in terms of my day-to-day, I typically start off my day looking at screening for patients for our various studies. So most of our studies focus on looking at outcomes post-treatment, quality of life questionnaires, a few translational studies, and a few clinical trials. So after I'm done screening to start my day, I head over to the clinic. I speak with the physicians there, telling them about what patients I'm interested in speaking to. Then if we identify certain patients, I then go over and talk about the studies to the patient, um, go about with my informed consent process, detailing various study procedures, protocols, and follow-up assessments. I also do various follow-up assessments on patients. I contact patients, keeping up, making sure while on study, they're doing okay, doing adverse event checkups, just following protocol and doing study assessments on these patients. I also, in my day, tend to complete some data entry and completing some CRFs and ensuring that everything is being done according to protocol, making sure all the samples are being kept correctly, cross-checking anything with RAB amendments, any RAB deadlines, also working again on RAB information such as study submissions, RAB amendments again, consent amendments, and et cetera, et cetera. So my day-to-day is some days are different than others depending on what studies I'm recruiting for that day, or if I have more patients to conduct follow-up assessments on. In terms of getting into the industry, I first got into the industry last year. So I graduated last year with a degree in life sciences from McMaster University here in Canada. And I kind of, was thinking of going to more of the medical field, but I also thought, what else can I do in order to be a part of the field, but not necessarily being a medical doctor? And that's when I was introduced to the idea of clinical research. And that's when I was also able to reach out to Funlaya, who my mom had known for a while and was thinking about starting this group, Nigerians in Clinical Research and Pharmaceuticals in Canada, which piqued my interest. So I communicated with Funlaya and was able to start gaining things such as like my good clinical practice certification, being able to understand the various roles in clinical research, whether I want to work on site level or in the pharma level as well, and being able to edit my resume to be more conducive to applying for a clinical research role. And I started applying, and thankfully I was able to get this opportunity at UHN last year. I've been working here for basically a year now, and I feel I have a good grasp of the clinical research field for now, and I'm still constantly learning and growing. I'm also a part of a clinical research program at McMaster. They're one of their courses there, just to further my understanding of the clinical research field as well. I've been able to, through this group, I've been able to communicate with a bunch of people, learn from other people, and I've also been able to help people in terms of applying to various roles and what to expect from various roles as well. In terms of requirements to get into the sector, there are a lot of information about whether you need certain degrees or certifications, but I think the main one people need to focus on are, first, you need an undergraduate degree or bachelor's degrees. You could have various degrees, but I think bachelor's of science is more broad and gives you more opportunities. And you also, most of the time, most places would just want your good clinical practice certification, and you could do that online for free. And it just takes about 6 hours to complete. And I think those are the basics you need to get started to the entry-level role. And from that entry-level role, you're able to garner more things like experience. And once you garner more experience, you're able to start getting being able to apply for the SOCRA or the ACRP certification exam and other things as well. So I think the basic for what you need is a bachelor and also a good clinical practice certification as well. In terms of job location, I think Toronto is it's pretty unique that it's very diverse with a lot of opportunities here in Toronto, Ontario, for what I know. So there are various hospitals here and they're always constantly looking for research personnel, specifically clinical research assistants, people on the site level, recruiters, as there are many job opportunities here in Toronto, Ontario. I think the best kind of, again, in terms of roles, if you really want site level, then you'd want to work at Toronto General Hospital, Princess Margaret Cancer Center, Sunnybrook Health Sciences Center, St. Michael's Hospital, St. Joseph's Hospital, various number of hospitals you can work at. And then in terms of salary expectations, I think varies between the various clinical research roles. So for a clinical research assistant, you're probably looking at from about 45,000 Canadian to about 55,000 Canadian per year. Then for a clinical research coordinator role, probably from around 50,000 to probably around 80,000, depending on obviously levels of experience, where you're working and what kind of trials you're involved in. So that's really the gist so far of my experiences of clinical research. So if you have any questions, please don't be afraid to ask it right now.
Thank you so much for that session and that information on clinical research itself and the requirements and also the certificate needed to just get started in the role. So right now we're hoping to take on questions. If you have any questions on how to any question for Alex about clinical research itself and the unique clarification on the requirements or just any more details on his day-to-day activity as regards clinical research itself, please feel free to ask now. And if you can also use the chat box if you currently cannot speak. So I'm just going to leave the session open just for questions.
Hi, Alex. I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
I want to thank you for everything you said. Most of us are actually very, very particular about how much we're going to earn if we get into this. But is the GCP enough to help one transition into clinical research? Because everyone keeps talking about the GCP. Is that enough?
Yeah, so again, for entry-level roles, they're really looking to see like if you just have some prior experience, like in terms of regular research, not necessarily clinical research. And then you also need good clinical practice. That's basically a standard every site level follows. So that's required, and it's pretty much the basic for what you need. And trying to apply for these entry-level roles into clinical research. Of course, there'll be other roles that maybe want like, more experience, or maybe like a accredited clinical research professional certification. But most roles typically would just want your GCP. And I think another one would be what's called your Tri-Council Policy Statement certification, CCP2. So those are basically Tri-Council Policy Statement, or some knowledge of that. So I think those are the two important ones for applying to clinical research roles, for entry-level roles.
Okay, and the clinical research assistant is an entry-level role?
Yeah, it is an entry-level role, yeah.
Okay, so how long do you think one can do this before moving to something higher?
Well, it varies. Like if you do for a little bit, like you gain enough experience. I would probably stay like maximum, I don't know, depends where you're comfortable with, if you're working in your environment, but I think at least a year, you could just keep moving on, or even shorter It all depends on the work you're doing, the experience you're gaining. Like I do a lot of things, even on my entry low role, that a lot of research coordinators are currently doing day to day. So I think I have lots of experience to be able to go into a coordinator role at any time if I wish to.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
No worries.
So one more thing. If you're starting as an entry-level CRA, must you be on site? Are there remote opportunities for this kind of role?
There are remote opportunities. It just depends, again, where you're working, the kind of studies you're working with. So it really varies. And so there's some that could be on site, some that could be half on site, half remote. Again, depends what kind of data you're working with, and if you're required, depends on the protocol of the studies as well. So it really depends. But there are opportunities like that, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
No worries.
Thank you so much for that as well. And thank you for asking that question. Also, just wanted to just make an addition to, Alex's comment on Elsa's question about if you need to be on site or there are remote roles. I do agree with Alex that it depends on the protocol itself, because some of the studies that I work on right now, they are majorly remote, and most of the people that I manage on the study as well don't really go to the site, so it's technically really remote. It's something we can do it's something we can do virtually, really. So, and I think that, like Alex said, that just depends on the protocol itself and the organization and the type of study itself as well. These are kind of the factors, because within my same organization, there are some studies that they need to be on site, but for the ones I manage, they're not required to be on site actually. So it's majorly remote roles and virtual monitoring, basically.
Yeah, I also want to add on, I see Real One in the chat said phlebotomy certifications are also needed for a clinical research coordinator role. So yes, that as well. So in some studies, they might ask you to draw blood. So that kind of certification will be required. But there are also some organizations that will train you and help pay for that as well. So again, I think that's also another important point that Real One just mentioned in the chat as well.
Yeah, I also do agree with that. And some other studies as well do require nurses too, depending on the type of specimen that they want to collect. Like I know for some COVID-related study, in terms of PCR swab collections, it has to be nurses. They're taking the swabs based on the study protocol, right? So yeah, it does really vary in terms of the type of protocol itself and implementation and what is required in terms of the services that needs to be rendered also.
Mm-hmm. Okay, does anyone else have any questions or things they would like for me to add on or discuss?
It's not really a question. What's the lady speaking? What's your name? Hi.
Hi.
Yeah. What's your name?
My name is Olu.
Okay. I thought you were baby. You sound so much like someone I know or someone I've spoken to. Okay, Olu. Guys, is there any way we can reach you personally after this? Because I might have questions later. I don't have questions now, but I might have questions later. Is there any way I can reach any of you, Alex and Olu?
Yeah, for sure. You can reach me on Slack, WhatsApp. Although the WhatsApp group is not active right now, I am on Slack as well. Or I can also just quickly send my email to you in the chat, or put my email in the chat for everyone
Okay.
in case they'd like to reach. Another key thing to look for is really focusing on your resume in terms of getting into various roles. So you have to really tailor your resume. So if you want a research assistant role, most clinical research assistant roles deal with more of with the REB amendments, preparing study documents, and just following up on assessments, whereas the coordinators, so you really focus your resume on that, whereas the research coordinator roles tend to really focus on more interpersonal skills, because you'll be consenting the patients, again, conducting study assessments with the patients, interacting with multiple stakeholders. So you really have to also focus on how your resume is, what kind of story your resume is telling as well. And we have people who can help with resumes in the group, like Dr. Femi, who is really great at helping individuals tailor their resumes as well.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I have a question, please.
What's your question? Hello?
Okay, I thought someone was about saying something. So.
Okay, Osas, you can go ahead.
Okay. I noticed that, as you rightly said, Alex, that most of the roles are in Toronto, right? So, and it's kind of a bit challenging for me, right? I'm not in Ontario. I was able to get some job offers, but they were in Ontario, which I had to turn down. How else can I enter the research field if I'm not in Ontario, right? Because most of the clinics, they rightly said they wanted me to be on site, and it wasn't going to be possible for me. So how else can I get into the research field?
Where are you based from?
Right now, I'm in Yellowknife.
So I know there typically are in a lot of local hospitals in the other provinces, they tend to hire a lot of, again, assistants, people on site there. I know there may not be a lot of them, but you just have to keep applying in those areas. They like to hire people who are close by, of course, who are from the community as well. So I think applying to your local community or looking for more remote roles, you can apply to things in Ontario, but look for more remote jobs here, like maybe like a recruiter or a data manager, clinical data coordinator as well. And you could be able to possibly be able to do remote jobs. I know currently at UHN, we do have like roles that constantly becoming more available. So maybe there might be some remote roles there at UHN as well, if you look at their website and their job board as well. Although I know it's challenging.
Okay.
So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Alex, for everything. I also wanted to ask about the getting remote jobs, but I think that has been answered. So another question, is there opportunity for mentorship or coaching in this academy, as in coaching as per trying to get the right role that fits, and especially using your background, if you've had some knowledge of research from back home, like I don't know what this clinical research compared to back home where we write papers and publish the research, hospital-based research, and is it the same? And how can we leverage on publications that you've had in the past? And another question is that, do you have to start from the entry role, especially if you had like published a number of papers, you've been involved in international studies from back home? Do you have to start from entry level?
Yeah, so again, that's a challenging part. All the thing about clinical research, it's really not different from globally or internationally. It's how you're able to then translate those experiences you had from Nigeria and be able to say, oh, I was able to do this, so this means I can do it here. All these skills for these roles are things we have. We just have to be able to communicate that we've done them. Like basically everybody in this group has done everything these roles are asking for. You just have to be able to communicate in a way through your resume. That's why your resume is very important, a way to communicate that you've been able to exemplify these responsibilities in a different role, but you're able to bring them here. So as you said, publishing papers is common here from site level, collecting the data, writing, being able to analyze the data. That's stuff that job requirements here, and you've clearly already done that. So I think that's why the resume is really important, and you have to be able to have a really good resume in order to translate that. In terms of getting into a job, not necessarily from entry level, it is feasible depending on the experience you had in Nigeria. I know a lot of people have had lots of experience, but typically the best way, at least the easiest path, is through an entry level. Just work a little in the entry level role just to say you have, the quote unquote Canadian experience, and you'll be able to move on very quickly, So I think that's a way you can be able to do that. Then in terms of mentorship, I know we previously had the mentor and buddy program where we were able to pair people with mentors and mentees with mentors. So I don't know if we're thinking of bringing it back again. We're not sure yet, but I know there are many people you can reach out to in this group, and you'll be able to ask them for help, and people are very, very would like to help other people, right? Because this group is made of people wanting to pay it forward and help others, So I think you can reach out to a bunch of people in order to ask for help. You can also reach out to me. I can try my best to help you with my time to be able to guide you towards a better direction for yourself and give you some perspective on things as well. And again, Dr. Femi is also really good at resumes. He's the one that helped me and taught me how to really tailor my resume. So I feel confident in what I have. Even I just had my university research, and I didn't have any work experience at all, but I was able to garner a job in clinical research just by me being able to translate what I did in university in my bachelor's and being able to say, oh, because I did this, I'm sure I'll be able to do this in clinical research as well.
Oh, okay, thank you.